I remember the moment she told me she wanted to end our marriage. There was no shouting, no explosive fight, just a calm, almost detached explanation as if she were describing the weather. "I can't continue like this," she said. "I need to focus on my career. I can't be held back." My chest tightened, a quiet fracture forming in my world. The person I loved, the person I had shared my life with, suddenly wanted out, not because of betrayal, not because of anger, but for ambition. I could have pleaded. I could have cried, begged for one more chance. But something deep inside told me to resist. It whispered that this wasn't just a test of our relationship, but a test of who I was. So I stayed composed. I nodded, expressed understanding even while every part of me ached to scream or collapse. Then, without further explanation, I left. I didn't vanish across the globe. I stayed in the city, stayed in my life, but stepped out of hers completely. No calls, no texts, no explanations. Friends asked how I was. I said I needed time, that I was working things out. The truth was, I was beginning a plan she wouldn't foresee. The first days were excruciating. I missed her, yes, but I also discovered a strange sense of liberation. I realized how much of myself I had hidden, how much of my own life I had deferred to keep everything smooth for her. I began reconnecting with old friends, returning to hobbies, finally tackling the projects I had postponed for years. Every action was deliberate, quiet, and purposeful. She started to reach out after a few days, small, casual messages. "Are you okay? We should talk." I didn't respond. I let her attempts go unanswered. Slowly, I noticed the gaps she hadn't anticipated. Minor challenges that I had once managed for her became obstacles she struggled to handle alone. Work pressures mounted, social commitments grew heavier. Without me silently smoothing the edges, life's complexities began to weigh on her. A week became 10 days, then 2 weeks. Her anxiety was palpable, visible through reports from mutual friends. She seems off, tense, frustrated. It was then I realized the quiet potency of absence. Not confrontation, not anger, but simply stepping back. When I returned, it was without theatrics. No shouting, no apologies, no grand declarations. I was composed, steady, in command of myself. She didn't immediately recognize me. There was a new calmness about me, an aura unfamiliar to her. I greeted her as if nothing had happened, and yet, her eyes spoke volumes. Surprise, confusion, and a flicker of respect. She could no longer overlook me. We spoke briefly, carefully. I didn't beg or demand. I simply explained that I had stepped away to experience life without her presence, to honor her desire for space and my need to reclaim my own. I told her I had grown stronger, more aware of my worth, and more focused on my life. That was the turning point. She began seeing me as an individual, not merely someone who existed to support her ambitions. She began to understand that leaving had consequences she hadn't considered, not just for me but for her own life. I wasn't desperate, I wasn't pleading. Quietly, I was flourishing in ways she couldn't ignore. And in those days, everything shifted. She approached me cautiously, curious, seeking to understand the change in me. I didn't reveal every detail, just the reality that I had taken control of my own life, and that she had underestimated my strength. It wasn't about revenge or triumph. It was about presence, self-respect, and influence. She had expected me to crumble, but instead, I disappeared to demonstrate my significance, not to demand acknowledgement, but to allow the truth of my impact to speak for itself. When I re-entered her life, steady and self-assured, she had no choice but to recognize me as I truly was. This wasn't about controlling or punishing anyone. It was about valuing oneself, stepping back when society expects desperate confrontation, and allowing absence to reveal what presence can accomplish. In that quiet, I discovered a power no argument, no plea could ever provide. Sometimes the most formidable act isn't a fight. It's patience, silence, and living in a way that quietly asserts your worth. And in that stillness, real strength emerges, more profound than any spoken words.